Like I said, my name's Marla Azinger, and this briefing is mostly about addressing the big pink elephant that's been in the room for 10 years that everybody has a lot of hard time looking at and acknowledging. So here we go. Currently, how IPv6 users will implement multi-homing and route engineering on a global scale is not determined. This leaves us to ask the following questions. What solutions exist or can exist in order to enable v6 multi-homing and traffic engineering? Can we come to an IPv6 multi-homing and traffic engineering solution on a global scale? Sorry about that. There you go. That's what slide we're on. Just on that one. There we go. All right. This discussion for myself started on ARIN PPML. The current problem drew more attention after some IPv6 policy was passed in the ARIN region. And the problem, not everyone can multi-home with v6 due to the perception that filters must be set at /32, and no solution has been put forward for implementation. This issue brought forward another debate on ARIN PPML. Who exactly should be involved in making this solution? And IETF, NANOG, ARIN, and other global IRIRs were put forward as who people believe should be involved in this. First, I'm going to start with the creation of the solution input that I've been working with. Based on the discussion on ARIN PPML, an email was sent to IETF v6 Working Group Ops asking them what their advice would be on how to best do v6 multi-homing. The email was responded with please come to Montreal and discuss this with us in person. So on behalf of the ARIN AC, I accepted and went to Montreal, and I worked with a great group of gentlemen in the IPv6 working group, and we addressed several different ways of accomplishing v6 multi-homing. Several members from the v6 work groups are now working on creating documentation that will have a suggested solution that utilizes current technology. They're working on technical facts that are being considered are filtering, community coding, metro regional assignments, and these are works in progress right now. The documents that will be published out of this collaboration are to be understood as a recommended solution, and they are not an IETF mandate. Now what we need is the following. We need input from our IRIRs around the world. What will work with IRIR policy that currently exists and the best business practices that exist? And it's a difficult subject. In order to help this along, I've written a document on multi-homing and traffic engineering and its pros and cons. This document will be published on the NRO site by the end of, hopefully by the end of this week. I'm done with the document. The document is a collaboration of the community entirely. It is not my sole document. It's a collaboration of information. It is a living document. So I am encouraging everybody to read the document, go through it, and actually email me any pros and cons that you believe should be added to this paper. So like I said, we need input from everybody. So far, the suggested solutions that have been put forward are, one, I'm going to go through in order and give a little bit of an example. CIDR, decide on a boundary we think routers can handle now and possibly in the future. Open the filters to this decided CIDR boundary. The second one, aggregation slices. As a community, we would decide to allow a specific number of aggregations per AS. With this approach, we determine what CIDR boundary to filter on by considering how many more specific routes each end site requires in order to provide the appropriate level of fine-grained traffic engineering capabilities in concert with multi-homing. When approached this way, we can work backwards from the default end site assignment, divide that into the appropriate number of slices, and as a community decide on a CIDR that allows the appropriate number of slices. Third, metro regional. IP addresses would be assigned to a regional geographic location as opposed to large networks, ISPs, and users, PI. As an example, a prefix is assigned to a suitable regional authority, such as a city. The city then chooses a single or list of relevant providers to serve as the interchange. Each of the providers will advertise the region's prefix to the internet. Based on a protocol or by a contract, these providers will accept more specific prefixes from subscribers that are within the regional geographic location and will then interchange traffic to other relevant providers. Third, community codes. A BGP community attribute for tagging prefixes would be used. In order to multi-home with PA space, this BGP community attribute would have to be attached to the prefix being used for multi-homing. The name of the community is multi-home, and the Internet Assigned Numbers Authority should decide its value. BGP implementations will need to propagate the multi-home community by default if they don't propagate other communities by default. Operators will tag prefix with PA space used for multi-homing with the multi-home community and propagate this community along with the advertisement of these prefixes. The next one, published list. A list of approved prefixes for multi-homing would be published and filters would be open to this approved list. As an example, an IRR decides that the first /45 of a PA/32 allocation is to be utilized for multi-homing. Then all filters should be opened up for these approved multi-homing prefixes. This can be accomplished by the RIRs producing a list of approved multi-homing blocks and then publishing it on their public database as a loadable list. This list would be updated daily by the RIRs. This list would include both PA and PI blocks that are approved for multi-homing. The next one, policy. This one is a true workaround scenario. This would be a written policy where the PA multi-homing problem would be resolved through IRs would write a policy that allows providers to request PI space. The PI space would be allocated to the upstream requester, who then would reassign the PI space to their customer. You can see the workaround there. Next one, SHIM6 is a protocol. SHIM6 provides a way to look at routing and starts communicating by both ends running SHIM6, and that one has a lot of detail which I'm not going to go into, and it has more in the document that's going to be published on NRO. 8+8 and GSE. This is a protocol solution that functions through identification manipulation. 8+8 and GSE are protocol-based solutions that attempt to completely separate the identifier which uniquely identifies an end host from the locator, which locates the end host behind one or more ISPs. GSE is an extension to 8+8 that separates the address into the routing group, local site subnetting, and then end system identifier. All pseudo header checksums should only reference the end system identifier so that the routing group can be modified. And our last one for the day, maximum prefix. Rather than setting a specific CIDR to open filters, each origin AS could be limited to a certain number of prefixes. This could be implemented today if every upstream AS set a maximum prefix, maximum prefix limit on each BGP neighbor. So that is the end of my discussion, and now I'm hoping for input from anybody in the crowd on solutions that they think would definitely be a beneficial route to go. The document that is on the NRO, will be on the NRO site, is I did my best to make it unbiased and factual, not geared toward any one type of organization preference, just so you guys know, and it is not in order of preference of mine. It's completely just a list. All right.
Okay, I'm Vince Fuller from Cisco. Not to be overly critical, but I would say that this presentation is naive at best. You imply that there actually is a solution here, and there isn't. As I stated in the presentation I gave at the last NANOG, and that other people have also stated, none of these solutions are actual solutions. None of them scale. There are no enforcement mechanisms for limiting the scope of routing information that you propose to allow us more specifics. There needs to be a real solution here, but none of these measures are going to help.
Do you have one that would?
No, I don't have a solution, and I won't go into the politics of why no solution has been developed over the last 10 years, but I can say that there are people that are actually looking at this problem, and you may see some more along the lines of potential directions for a solution in the next few weeks, so I hope. But I think that promulgating these solutions, yes, I know that's optimistic, Ted, but promulgating these half measures, I think is just going to make the problem worse, and it's going to give, it gives rise to a false sense that the problem has been solved, because it most definitely has not been.
Thank you for your opinion.
Brian Dixon. I think that to summarize, my understanding of things is allocation policies and aggregation policies have to be completely aligned. If you want to have multi-homing, what seems to me to be the logical thing would be to do the allocation at the top level without having it need to go through an RIR level, other than allocating from the very top to anybody who wants to be multi-homed. I think that makes most of the problem go away, although you do end up with some level of routing table bloat, but you don't have the same kind of bloat under IPv4 CIDR where you have deaggregation because of the huge amount of IPv6 space. There would be no issue with aggregation or deaggregation, but allocations can be made appropriate to the size of the entity.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense.
It makes sense, and it's valid input, so I appreciate you coming to the mic.
I guess I would just pose a quick question to you, which is, Aaron has effectively weighed in on the subject in the form of 2005-1, right? So, feedback from the community that says that 2005-1 is or is not a good idea to Aaron, now that it has been approved, I suppose is a little late.
I wouldn't say that. Any policy that exists is, when we pass a policy, the community believes we're doing the best thing. Right. However, if we realize down the road that we made a mistake, that's why we have ways of actually undoing the policy or changing it. So input is always valid. I would never say don't provide input because we passed something. I would say, please, maybe you need to be a little louder sometimes, but always provide the input, even if it's against what we have done.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
If there are...
CJ.
Hi, is this on?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm Kathy Aronson. I'm on the AC with Marla. And that policy that you mentioned is sort of a compromise. I mean, because multi-homing really isn't solved, we had to do something to help people who need to multi-home. So I think most of the people who agreed to it, it's a compromise, and I think most people would like to see it solved in a more scalable way.
Over in the corner.
Chris Morrow, Verizon Business. So I think that the list that you put up is not a set of solutions so much as it is an educational experience to the folks here. There have been 2 or 3 different similar presentations in the last 2 or 3 NANOG meetings, and some discussion on the list and other things, that this is a problem and there's a set of solutions. I think that a lot of folks need to understand what those are and let the standards folks, IETF, do their job and say this is a problem, if it is. I'm not going to say that it is. And then we need some solution. And by the way, it looks to me like we need a solution really fast, like less than 5 years. And every day that we sit here and don't have a solution is one less day to implement the solution in less than 5 years. So please, it'd be nice if folks read these things and gave some commentary back.
Yeah.
I think maybe where's the right place to send the commentary? Aside from Vince.
You can send the commentary to my email address, and I fully plan to integrate everything that I receive. And yeah, if this list isn't the right answer, okay. But is it going to get us pushing and realizing this issue really is important and we need to start looking at what could be? Yes, definitely. So no matter what, me standing up there saying, yes, this literally is only the suggested solutions that I've been sent or found so far. So if there's other ones out there I don't have, yes, I would love to add them.
And where can they participate would be also good.
Where can they be what?
Where can I go participate to help fix this problem?
Email me, honestly. And
And-
There's no, I don't have like a working group thing going on. As far as I'm going to IETF, that's the only place working group wise. So if you want to go to that, you'll see me there in the group working on it. But this one document is solely going out through Aaron Advisory Council and myself as far as what we have collaborated together out of the community.
Okay, and I'm naive about IETF, so there are some working groups there, maybe one about V6, maybe it's called V6 Ops or something. Is that
V6
what-
working group ops.
V6 working group? Okay, so I would go there.
Right, you could go
Excellent.
there, or you can, if you don't want to go there, because I understand it's hard to justify going everywhere, but if you email me your comments and your input, I definitely would say, so-and-so provided this, and get it in.
And do they have like mailing lists or something for their working group?
They do have a mailing list for the working group. Is there anybody here from IETF V6 work group today? You don't, okay, I can get you in touch, you see a hand?
These,
Okay.
Randy Bush, IJ. Chris, this town is not torn down all its old buildings. There are lots of brick walls you can bash your heads against right here in town. You don't have to go far. My friend Vince has beaten me up and said all these half something or other solutions postpone the inevitable instead of forcing. So I guess its position would be continue to oppress the proletariat so the revolution comes sooner. I am worried that these solutions don't reduce global state, and they're all patches. And if we're going to do patches, we should do them very conservatively. And there's a gentleman here from, I think, NTT Tokyo, whose proposal is in final stages within a PNIC, addressing the multi-homing allocation issue. And I wish he would speak for that proposal if he's here. I've seen him. But it's a nice, conservative, simple proposal, and I think it would be nice if the Aaron Registry did a little more research on what's happening.
Do you have his name?
You can just, I'll send something to
Okay,
you tomorrow.
yeah, if you could, I'd really appreciate it.
But APNIC has a reasonable conservative proposal in process. And it's approved by membership, et cetera, and it's just in its final waiting stages of the APNIC process, which is similar to Aaron's process, except without the advisory committee.
Okay, thank you.
if there are no other mics, I think we can move on to the next one.
Thank you.
I'll just abuse my position at the mic here to say that